we're going to look right now at writing equations of circles. So the circle, if you're given the center and the radius, this is what we need to do. Here's your basic formula. It's x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared is equal to your radius squared, where your center is being represented by h comma k, and r is going to be your radius. Now, what I told the kids in class to do was write your shell here. Basically, I'm leaving out the h, the k, and the r. Now, when you get ready to plug this in, this is going with your x, this is going with the y. And go ahead, when you do that, change the signs. So I'm not going to plug in a positive 2. I'm going to plug in the opposite of that, which is a negative 2. This goes with the y, and I'm going to change that to its opposite, which would be a plus 3. And then I'm going to plug in my radius and square it. So my equation would read x minus 2 quantity squared times y plus 3 quantity squared is equal to 4 squared, which is 16. And that would be the equation of my circle. On example 2, I'm given the center and the radius. That's the two things that I need to be able to write my equation. So I'm going to go back to my basic formula. Y minus k quantity squared is equal to my radius squared. We'll kind of write the shell of it. And when I look at this one, 0 is neither positive nor negative, so it doesn't matter which way I plug it in. So I'll just put a plus 0. You could put a minus 0. The 5 is a negative, so I want to plug in the opposite, and I want to make that a positive 5. And then I have a radius of 6. Now, is this going to look a little different? Because it does not matter what x is. When you add 0 to it, it's going to stay the same number. So they're going to kind of drop that and just write that as x squared. And if it is x squared, then I know that it's passing through 0 plus that y plus 5 quantity squared is equal to 36. Okay. Now on example 3, I'm going to do the same thing that I've been doing, except now they're going to give me a graph. So I need the center point, and I need to know how long the radius is. So on this one, I'm going to count out the center. That's a -1, -2. And then I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to have a center at -2, 4. And then to get your radius, you're going to go to the center and you're going to count straight out. 1 unit, 2 units. So I'm going to plug into my little shell here. So this is going to give me x plus 2, plug it in the opposite. Y minus 4, plug it in the opposite. And getting a radius of 2. So my equation would read x plus 2 quantity squared plus y minus 4 quantity squared is equal to 2 squared, which would be 4. And I've wrote the equation for that circle that was graphed. On this one, I do the same thing. I need a center and I need a radius. So on the center, it's at 1, -1, -2. And I'm going to go down to -1. And on this one, I've got a radius. Go to your center and count out straight out. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to go write the little shell. And this is going to be a plus 2, plus 1, 3 squared. So my equation will be x plus 2 quantity squared plus y plus 1 quantity squared is equal to 9. So I'm doing the same thing with both sets of examples here, except 1, everything is provided. 2, everything's provided, but I need to write that out myself. Okay. At the bottom, we're going to do a little writing using a point instead of knowing how long my radius is. And then on example 7 and 8, we're going to graph a quick circle. So on this one, I've got a center of my circle at 2, 3, but I'm passing through some regular old point there on my circle of negative 3, 1. So the first thing that I want to do to get the length of my radius is I want to do the distance between those 2 points. So that's going to be that x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So my distance is going to be negative 3 minus 2 squared plus 1 minus 3 squared. So this is going to give me a negative 5 squared. This is going to give me a negative 2 squared. So this is going to be 25 plus 4, which is going to be the square root of 29. Don't do anything to it. Just leave it like that right there because I'm fixing to plug it back into my equation. So then I'll go to that little hole of equation. And use your center point, minus 2, minus 3. And this is going to become the square root of 29 squared. So my equation would read x minus 2 squared plus y minus 3 squared. And when you square root a number and then turn around and square it, remember these cancel out, and I'm just left with a 29 with what is under it. Okay. And for this one, I will start off with the distance as well, where I've got my x2 minus my x1 squared plus my y2 minus my y1 squared. So my distance is going to be 0 minus a negative 2 squared plus 6 minus a negative 1 squared. So my distance would be, that'll become a plus, so it becomes 2 squared plus 7 squared. So my distance is going to be 2 squared is 4, 7 squared is 49. So the square root of 53 would be the length of my radius. And then I'll just go to my little hole here of my formula. So go find your center point. So this is going to become a plus 2. This will become a plus 1. And I will square root 53 and turn around and square it. So I'll get x plus 2 quantity squared plus my y plus 1 quantity squared is equal to 53. Okay. Now, from there, I'm going to go to graphing. Okay. So the first thing you want to do here is you want to get a center. And remember, if we plugging them in doing the opposite, you're going to pull them out and do the opposite. So this is a negative 3, but I'm going to pull it out as a positive. This is a negative 1. I'm going to pull him out as a positive. And I've got a radius of, take the square root of that. So it'd be a radius of 3. Okay, so I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3, up 1. Put the center of my circle. Now from there, that's where you're counting from for the rest of to get your other points. So go to your center, and we're going to do a radius. Go to right 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Go back to your center and go up 1, 2, 3. Go left 1, 2, 3 from the center. Go back to the center and go down. Then we're going to connect that the best that we can with a rough little circle there. And that's how I'm going to graph. Okay, just get me 4 points and a center point. So on this one, my center, opposites, 2, -1. Take the square root of that, and it gives me 5. So I'm over at 2 down -1. And we'll count out the 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Center, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Center, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Center, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And connect those to make a quick little circle. And that will take care of the graphing.